everyone, as you can see from the title, today's video is going to be a little introduction to cloth nappies and a little talk through our journey into starting to use reusable nappies this time last year. This video was requested, but it was one that I wanted to do anyway because I think when you start researching cloth nappies, it can seem really overwhelming, but once you get started, it's really not complicated at all. So I thought it would be a good idea to just sit with a cuppa and do this little chatty video. Between you and me, I did actually film this yesterday, but I watched it back this morning and I was just rambling because I was also stuffing some of my daughter's nappies at the time, and I just apparently can't focus on two things at once, and I was just rambling. So we're going to try again today. Oh, this is Yorkshire biscuit brew tea. So good. Anyway, so I want to do a separate video that isn't, you know, like a long rambly chatty one, specifically about like a brief introduction to cloth nappies, the different types and what they might be more useful for, what child they might suit, that sort of thing. This is mainly going to be how cloth nappies work for us in our house and how we started using them. Please do bear in mind that this is just our routine and what works for us and my daughter. You'll soon realise if you look into using cloth that everyone does it differently and there is no right or wrong way. So if you are watching this and you use cloth nappies, please don't feel like I'm saying you're doing something wrong if I say that we personally do something different. There are so many ways to do this. So I actually started looking into cloth around March time last year. Darcy was approaching 5 months old, and or she was about 4 months old when I first started looking. We started using cloth nappies when she was around 5 months old, getting to that age. And there were many reasons why I started using cloth nappies at that time, and it was basically because several things lined up at that time for me to be able to do so. It's not that I didn't know about cloth prior to that, I just honestly didn't think it was for me. In all honesty, I was intimidated by the thought of all the extra washing, and using disposable nappies just seemed easier, especially because I had a C-section as well. The thought of trying to sort out cloth nappies and wash them and everything, or try and like explain to Will how to wash them, it just wasn't something that I was going to do when we first had our daughter. As time went on though, we were struggling with nappy leaks because our daughter has multiple food allergies, and at the time we were still trying to pinpoint exactly what she was allergic to. So from 7 weeks old I cut out dairy and soya, but I had suspicions about other foods. So by the time she was 4 or 5 months old, we were still getting reactions to things and we were having nappy explosions, and that was happening multiple times a week, sometimes even more than once in one day. And it was driving me insane trying to get stains out of her clothes constantly. And I think there was one day where I only ever threw away like 1 or 2 items that weren't salvageable after a nappy explosion. And I think I'd had to throw away a sleep suit that I really loved because the stains were just awful. And I just thought, I'm not going to reuse that now. And I thought, this has got to stop, like there's got to be a better way. And I started looking into cloth nappies because I remembered people saying that you get less leaks with cloth nappies. That's not to say that they're bomb-proof, like nothing is bomb-proof. If you don't have the fit quite right or the absorbency quite right, like you're gonna get leaks. But they certainly contain baby poo a lot better than a disposable. So like I said, I started looking into it and there were a few things that aligned all at once to encourage me to try cloth. So the first thing was, like I said, we were getting these nappy leaks and I was just in this frame of mind where I was like, something's got to change. Secondly, somebody I've known for quite a while had a baby at the beginning of April last year, and she used cloth from birth. So I was following her on Instagram, I was seeing her pictures, I was seeing the companies that she was sharing, and I just thought, I wonder if cloth could work for us. And I was getting drawn in by all the lovely prints and patterns, and I just started to think, I wonder if I could make that work. I wonder if I could give cloth a go. And then the third thing was that it was actually reusable nappy week, the exact week that I decided to go ahead and try cloth nappies. So all of those brands that I'd started following and researching heavily reduced their stock basically, and it meant that I was able to afford to buy essentially a starter kit of several different brands of reusable nappy. Now, whilst it ultimately worked out for me and I've continued to use cloth and we now use cloth pretty much full time, the way that I started using it with my daughter, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, because I only have 2 of those nappies still, the original ones that I bought, because I soon realised that they just didn't work for me or they didn't fit her properly, and ended up selling them all. In fact, I finally managed to sell the last of them last week. So I wouldn't recommend just suddenly buying a bunch of nappies, because you may find that they don't quite work for your child. What I would recommend is going to a nappy library, and I'm so passionate about this that I've actually recently started volunteering with a nappy library local to me. I think it's my most local one. Unfortunately, there isn't one in my immediate area, but I've started volunteering with Winchester Nappy Library, and I have been doing some of their social media for the last couple of weeks. So I'll leave their information in the description in case you're local and you fancy hiring a kit. I would really recommend it. The kits are really good. There's a few brands in there that don't work for us, and there's a few brands in there that are amazing for us. So it really is trial and error. And for that reason, a kit is the best way to try out nappies without spending a ton of money that you're then going to not get back, because at the moment the secondhand market for nappies is quite oversaturated, and people who are selling their nappies on are finding that they're taking quite a hit on them basically, whereas not that long ago you could sell nappies on for close to what they were originally bought for. That's not the case at the moment. So trying out nappies via a nappy library is the best thing to do in my opinion. I just wanted to say, even though I am volunteering with the nappy library, this isn't an ad, or I'm not affiliated in any way. I don't gain anything by you hiring a kit or making an inquiry, but I'm just quite passionate about it because I did waste a lot of money in the beginning, and then went on to spend more money once I found out what worked for me. So yeah, I just think nappy libraries are great, and they are all over the country. So definitely have a look and see if you've got one local to you if you're interested in starting cloth nappies with your child. But yeah, so I bought originally a ton of Velcro nappies because I thought they would be easier and quicker for nappy changes and for other people to do as well. So eventually, when grandparents maybe started looking after Darcy here and there, or my husband was doing nappy changes and stuff, I thought that Velcro would be easier, and it is easier to put a Velcro nappy on a child than poppers. However, I found that I just couldn't get a decent fit with our Velcro nappies, and I decided to sell them on fairly quickly. I have kept 2 of our original nappies because I'm sentimental, and they were the first ones that my daughter wore. So I will probably put them on any subsequent babies if we have them, and they can be the first birth to potty size nappy that our next children wear as well, and just keep that as a tradition. But generally I've got rid of everything that we originally bought. With cloth nappies, the most important thing really is the fit and the absorbency, and again, going back to the nappy library, like I said, I'm doing their social media at the moment, and I actually posted some tips to get a good fit or avoid leaks the other day, so that might be worth going and having a look at if you are interested, or if you use cloth nappies and you've suddenly started getting leaks. And it is a learning curve, it really is, especially going from Velcro to poppers. I watched a lot of videos on how to get a good fit. I looked at a lot of infographics, but once you do it, it's really quite easy. Once you've done a bit of research and figured out what you're doing, it's really easy. And now it takes me the same amount of time to put a cloth nappy on my daughter as it did to do a disposable nappy change, and it just becomes second nature. Whilst I'm talking about fit, I suppose I'll just share a bit about the sizes quickly. There tend to be 3 main sizes of cloth nappies. So there's newborn, birth to potty, which, spoiler alert, don't really fit from birth. They normally fit from sort of 8 weeks plus. And then they're meant to last until potty training, but that will depend on the size and build of your child. And then some brands do like a junior or extra large nappy for larger toddlers who have outgrown that birth to potty size, or perhaps older children who are still in nappies for whatever reason. We obviously started when Darcy was about like nearing 5 months, so we didn't have any newborn size nappies for her. We just went straight to birth to potty, and in the majority of our birth to potty nappies, we are only one rise open. So down the front of the nappy they have rise poppers, and that's how you extend the length of the nappy as your child grows. And then obviously the waist poppers are fairly straightforward. You just loosen them or tighten them as your child grows or their shape changes. But in most of our nappies we still only have one rise open, so I'm fairly confident that a lot of our nappies will last until potty training. At least I hope so anyway. And it is worth bearing in mind as well that there is a difference across brands. So even though two brands might sell a birth to potty nappy, some are still smaller than others, and some are meant to fit in a different way. So some are designed to fit really low on the hips like a pair of knickers, and then others are designed to fit higher up the body, sort of closer to the belly button, like a big pair of like Bridget Jones pants, which by the way, I had a C-section 15 months ago and I'm still wearing those Bridget Jones pants because they're comfortable, so don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But yeah, so they're all designed to fit differently, and that's again why it's so important to try things out before you spend a load of money, because when we first started, the nappies that were smaller and designed to fit like a pair of pants or like a pair of knickers didn't suit Darcy at all. They just didn't fit her properly at all, because instead of having a really defined waist and then like a big baby tummy, she was just sort of like a tree trunk, the same width all round. So they just didn't fit her. Now that she's up and walking and she's leaner, now those nappies that are designed to fit like pants, they fit her fine now. So we have a mix of different brands. So like I said, I'm meant to not be properly rambling in this video, and I'm gonna do a separate video talking about the different kinds of nappies and stuff. But that's just like a little bit of an intro for you, and there's different different types of nappy that work in different ways. There's different materials that people use. There is a lot to it. And it can feel overwhelming. But that's just like a little introduction, very brief introduction, and I'll do that more in detail video another time. So basically from the minute that we started using cloth nappies, I never looked back. It was, you know, apart from having a few niggles with the fit and deciding that maybe the nappies I bought originally didn't really suit Darcy, other than that, I just never looked back. It was amazing. I didn't have to scrub poo out of her clothes anymore. Like even really bad nappies weren't leaking, and like I said, they're not bomb proof. Like you will get leaks sometimes, more likely with wee rather than poo, but for us personally, like we hardly ever have a leak, and it was just such a difference to using disposables. Night nappies took a lot longer for me to get into. The ones I tried originally I just didn't like, and I didn't like the wraps that I had tried either. And I'll be honest, a lot of the time at night she still wore a disposable nappy, and you know what, that's absolutely fine, because it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Even just using one cloth nappy makes a huge difference to landfill and the environment. So if you are using cloth part-time, that's still amazing. The main reason that I really tried to figure out a nighttime solution for us was because disposables started leaking. Because pretty much as soon as she could roll over, she started wanting to sleep on her front, which meant that when she was asleep, a lot of the wee was gathering in the front of the nappy and it was leaking. So I wanted to see if I could find a solution for cloth nappies at night, and it's been quite a long process. And again, I'd recommend hiring nappies to try out. A lot of nappy libraries will have a nighttime kit that you can try. And don't be afraid to try things like flat nappies, like terry squares, those old traditional terry squares, because honestly they're some of the most absorbent and then quick drying nappies as well. They work well for us at night. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, and we have figured out some nighttime systems that work well for us. I've just recently dived into trying out wool, so wool covers for nappies at night time because they're so soft on the skin and comfortable. And yeah, I'm still trying new things now, even nearly a year down the line. So now I'll talk a little bit about our routine and how cloth works for us. So people will do this differently. Everyone does it differently, and there's no right or wrong way, but my personal understanding is that once a nappy has been used, you shouldn't soak nappies in anything. You shouldn't leave them in water. You shouldn't soak them in like napisan, which is what like a lot of people used to do, and a lot of people do still do that, but from what I've been told, that can damage the elastics, damage the plastic covering, the PUL wrap parts of nappies over time. So the ideal way really to store them is in an airy laundry basket or in a large hanging wet bag, with the zip undone so that air can get to them. And I know that sounds counterproductive and you're probably thinking, won't that smell? But no, it doesn't smell at all, because air can get to the nappies and circulate around them. If you keep your nappies in a bin or you soak them in a bin or something, the smell is not good. So once we've changed a nappy, if it's just a wet nappy, we'll take the inserts out and pop it into the wet bag until wash day, along with cloth wipes as well, because I did switch over to cloth wipes about 5-ish months after starting with cloth nappies. A lot of people actually start with wipes first, but for some reason wipes intimidated me more than nappies did. But actually the switch to cloth wipes was so easy, and they are the best thing ever. If it's a pooey nappy, before 6 months old, if your baby's only consuming breast milk or formula, their poo is completely water soluble, so you can choose to rinse poo off the nappy before putting it in the wet bag if you want to, or you can literally just fold it up like a disposable and pop it in the wet bag and put it straight in your washing machine like that. It will not damage your machine, you will not get poo all in your machine, it's completely water soluble. As soon as they start having any sort of solid food, you need to try and get as much of that poo off the nappy as possible before it goes in the washing machine. So some people actually have like a bidet attachment on their toilet, specifically for rinsing cloth nappies into the toilet. Some people use the shower head if the shower head stretches to the toilet. It's the same situation when we are out and about. So from the beginning, I've used cloth nappies out and about. And I just change her nappy. I have a little wet bag with me that I pop the dirty nappy in and the dirty wipes, and then when I get home I just empty that wet bag into the big hanging wet bag on the back of the door, and that stays there until wash day. I wash probably every 3rd day, but my general rule is that I just put a wash on when the nappy bag is full, because that's the perfect size wash for my washing machine. So you're aiming for your washing machine to be about 3/4 full, or for with room for your fist to sit at the top of the wash load, and that way the nappies will knock against each other effectively when they're in the wash to agitate and actually clean properly, without the machine being too overloaded. If you only use cloth part-time and you're finding that you don't have enough for a full load, but you obviously don't want to or can't leave your nappies sitting for days on end unwashed, you can actually bulk out your nappy wash with like muslins, tea towels, hand towels, preferably nothing bigger than a hand towel, and that way you can fill your machine up. Obviously you would add those items into your second wash. So when you wash your nappies, you want a pre-wash, which is a short rinse with or without detergent, and some people do it hot, some people do it cold. There's really no right or wrong way. It's just a rinse basically, so you want at least half an hour really. I personally put half a dose of detergent in to my pre-wash, and then once that pre-wash is done, then you can bulk out your wash if you need to. So like I said, you can put muslins, hand towels or whatever in there, or for me I just do my full load of nappies, and you want a long, preferably cottons wash, and you want a hot wash. The best thing to use to wash is powder. I use non-bio powder because my daughter has really sensitive skin. So I use non-bio powder, which means I do my main wash at 60 degrees. If you're using bio powder, you can wash safely at 40 degrees. The recommendation is if you've got 2 children in cloth nappies at the same time, then you would wash at 60 just to make sure that they're really getting clean. And the most important thing with washing is just that it is a long hot wash after your pre-wash, and that you get the dosing right with your powder. Again, I'm saying powder. Some people use liquid, some people use the tablets. Powder is the thing that is most often recommended, and it is what I use. And they have a helpful guide on the box to tell you how much powder to use for whether you've got hard or soft water, the size of your machine, how heavily soiled the items are, and because they are nappies, you want to go for the dosage that relates to the most soiled items, and you basically need more powder than you think you will. That's probably the thing that surprised me the most when I read the dosage instructions. I use like nearly 2 full scoops of powder on my main wash because that's what the box tells me to do. Then once they are clean, I just pop them on the airer to dry, the pocket shells and terry squares, my flat nappies, all-in-ones, everything. They go on the airer to dry. In the summer, I would try and dry them outside. And then my inserts I hang on something called a soctopus, which I just got from B&M, and I actually hang that in my airing cupboard, and that dries the inserts really quickly. Some nappies take longer to dry than others, so all-in-ones tend to take a really long time, and night nappies tend to take quite a long time. So once the inserts are dry, occasionally I need to hang the all-in-one nappies in the airing cupboard as well, but I actually just bought a second soctopus so that I can just do that at the same time. Most inserts and some nappies, the manufacturer says you can tumble dry them on low if you absolutely have to, but we don't have a tumble dryer, so we don't do that. And you don't want to subject your PUL nappies, so anything with that plastic waterproof shell, you don't want to subject those to any direct heat because that does damage the nappy. So yeah, I think that's it for our little like introduction to cloth nappies and how we started cloth nappying. I can't believe I'm nearly a year in now, and like I say, I honestly haven't looked back. It was one of the best parenting decisions I feel I've made personally, not only for the environment but also for our bank balance long term. Once you've got a stash of nappies, you don't have to buy any more if you don't want to. I do get sucked in by nice prints every so often, and I buy more, but I feel like I've got the perfect amount of nappies at the moment. I have some in the changing bag, a nappy caddy downstairs, a basket of all the like spares and like other ready to go ones in her bedroom, and an emergency pod of nappies in the car. So I have like the perfect amount now to be using them whilst the rest of them are in the wash and drying. But yeah, I think that's it for today. If you have any questions, as always, let me know, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.